Tips on how to learn any language fast. How long do you think it would take you to achieve native level fluency in a new language? A long time, right? Well, in this video, you're going to learn so many tips and tricks on how to learn any language in a record-breaking time. Let's get started with number 1. Make language learning a daily habit. People complain that they can't learn a language because it is too difficult or they aren't good at languages. In reality, the number one reason for failure is that people can't get themselves to practice the language consistently. Not all successful polyglots learn languages in the same way, but they all share some common traits, the most important being language learning habits. These language-related actions that you can regularly take without too much willpower. They have become automatic things that don't require special thinking to get done. Think about the habits you do daily without thinking. Brushing your teeth in the morning, locking your apartment door before you leave, changing clothes after you come home from work. Imagine what you could achieve if you could make language learning a daily habit. Doing something every day is all-powerful. Even if you don't notice it, and you most probably won't, it can gradually bring about a big change. Number 2, learn the right words the right way. The most frequent reason people give for being unable to learn languages is that they have a bad memory. But the problem is less to do with the memory and more to do with their technique. The first thing you should do is learn the most commonly used words. To achieve native level fluency in a language, you would typically need to know at least 50,000 words. But to achieve conversational fluency, you only need to learn a fraction of that 2,000 or 3,000 words. This is because in all languages, there's a majority of words that make up the majority of the spoken language. However, you will also come across them naturally while speaking and listening to the language. Write down and learn the commonly used words whilst ignoring the complex words that you don't hear so often. Number 3, learn words that are relevant to you. Do this by focusing on topics that interest you and that come up in your day-to-day life. These could be related to your work or to your leisure activities. By focusing on relevant languages, you'll be likely to use the words you learn in real life. You'll also find it easier to memorize these words. You can also use flashcards and spaced repetition. Flashcards are quite possibly the most effective way to memorize language. They apply a concept called spaced repetition. An algorithm learns how well you know each word, then prioritizes them so that you study the things you don't know without wasting precious time on the things you already do. Number 4, use a notebook and take it everywhere. Write down relevant vocabulary you come across whenever you are exposed to the language. Whilst you can do an online dictionary to find translations, I recommend writing the words down in a notebook rather than recording them on a device. Studies have demonstrated that when you write rather than type, your ability to recall information improves significantly. Researchers believe that this is because writing is slower and involves deeper mental processing. Number 5, immerse yourself with free resources. It has never been easier to learn a language without actually traveling to a country where it is spoken. This is because there are now tons of free reading and listening resources that you can access online. Use them to immerse yourself in the language every day. Ideally, you should use language resources that are just one level above your own. In linguistics, resources at this level are known as comprehensible input. Simply, this means that you should only just be able to understand whatever you are reading or listening to. You should be outside of your comfort zone, but you should know just enough of the language to enable you to understand and interpret new language. In terms of format, radio and podcasts are great when you have at least an intermediate level, but TV and films are preferable at the start. This is because the images provide you with context and help you understand the language. Number 6, adults are actually better language learners than kids. Many people think that kids are better at capturing a language than adults, but that is not true. Adults have a better way of processing a new language. It's just that adults have many other things to think of other than language learning. As for kids, they don't use their brains to think about what they should, about work, how they are going to wake up early in the morning to go finish important things. That's why you really can learn a new language, and even faster than toddlers, you only have to give it more time of your time. Also, no study has ever shown any direct correlation between reduced language acquisition skill and increased age. There's only a general downward trend in language acquisition in adults, which is probably more dependent on environmental factors that can be changed. Number 7, study smart. Try out electronic flashcards. By using electronic flashcards, you can easily carry large stacks on your smartphone or tablet, and you can take advantage of flashcards that other people have created and made public. When you start practicing with them, make sure to guess the meaning of a word before turning over the card. Flashcards work best when you use them to test your memory, so don't be too quick to flip the cards over. Even if you don't know a word, make a guess. Learn the translations first, then learn to produce the new words. It's easier to learn the translation of a foreign word than it is to learn to say the foreign word when you see its English equivalent. Start by looking at the side of the flashcard with the foreign word on it and memorize the English translation. Later, turn the cards over and use them to practice producing the foreign words when you see their English equivalents. Number 8. Speak from day one. There are 3 main options here. The free option is to find native speakers to converse with. Another option is to go to group classes. These can be nice from a social perspective, but if your goal is to practice speaking, they are not ideal as you will have to take turns with other learners. Also, classes often move as slowly as the slowest student. However, the most efficient option is to take one-on-one lessons. The cost can be a little higher, but if you are taking the lessons online, as with Lingochi, this isn't always the case. Moreover, you'll be able to get intensive speaking practice with an experienced native tutor. Number 9. Enjoy the language learning journey. Whether you reach conversational fluency in 12 months or longer, it's going to be a journey that will require consistent motivation. All too often, people give up learning a language because they study boring textbooks and try to rely on their willpower to keep going. With language learning, you can't rely on willpower alone. This is why you need to enjoy yourself throughout. If you are having fun, you'll actually want to practice each day. So don't obsess over grammar practice. Instead, do things you enjoy and focus on topics that interest you. And finally, number 10, embrace mistakes. Over half of the planet speaks more than one language. This means that monolingualism is a cultural, not a biological consequence. So when adults, at least in the English-speaking world, fail at language learning, it's not because they don't have the right genes or other such nonsense. It's because the system they have been used to learn languages is broken. The problem is that you can't ever truly learn a language you get used to. It's not a thing that you know or don't know. It's a means of communication between human beings. Languages should not be acquired by rote alone, they need to be used. The way you do this as a beginner is to use everything you do know with emphasis on communication rather than on perfection. This is the pivotal difference. Don't worry about upsetting native speakers for being so bold as to speak to them in their own language. One of the best things you can do is the initial stages is not to try to get everything perfect, but to embrace making mistakes.